And good morning. Welcome to the Police Federation Annual Conference 2023. We're live in Manchester. This is day 2, as you would imagine, a very busy day. Our National Chair, Steve Hartshorn, is with us. We'll talk to Steve in a few moments, and we'll give you some details about what to expect on this rather wet Wednesday in Manchester. But the agenda is absolutely crammed, so stand by for all of that. Before we go any further, however, we thought it appropriate on this day to first remember some of our fallen officers.
Police Constable Daniel Golding, Metropolitan Police. Police Community Support Officer Daniel Gower, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police. Police Sergeant Stephen Creel, Sussex Police. Police Constable Richard Kemp, Lancashire Constabulary. Police Constable Bruce Lister, Hertfordshire Constabulary. Police Constable Neil Pattinson, Northumbria Police. Police Constable Andrew Boardman, West Mercia Police. Inspector Gareth Erb, Diffid Powys Police. Police Sergeant Graham Saville, Nottinghamshire Police. Police Sergeant Paul Freer, West Midlands Police. We will remember them.
And Steve, poignant and absolutely right that we remember those officers.
Absolutely, and it takes about a couple of weeks when we had our the National Police Memorial Day, where across the country we gathered to remember our fallen colleagues, and an opportunity for the family to be there as well. So just to remind them they are still part of the police family, their contributions are extremely valuable and very valid, and it's something we'll do every single year to remember our fallen colleagues.
Indeed. It is day 2 of the Federation Conference. I mean, day 1 was incredibly busy. You thought it couldn't get any busier, but excitement levels are going to peak today by the looks of things. Not only your big speech, of course.
It is, yeah, keynote speech this afternoon.
The keynote comes just prior to the Home Secretaries.
It does, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the government, the Home Secretary, are hopefully going to give us. You know, this is that one time in the year when it's a chance to impress the Police Federation, but our members, and also to get that level of expectation about what the public can expect that policing is going to get. You know, we had the pay award for police officers. It's obviously been the seminar season and conference season for both major parties, Labour and the Tory party. We'd like to see something big today from the Home Secretary. So this is what we really intend to do for policing. You know, warm words are great, a pat on the back is nice, but we need something substantial. You know, we're asking for long-term funding. We want proper paying conditions. We want to be looked after because we're the ones that look after the public. So I'm looking forward to something. Whether we get it or not remains to be seen. Indeed.
Now, obviously, she plays a crucial role, as crucial as it gets, in all policing decisions, ultimately. It's, you know, we've done this many times before, Steve. It's often very hard to get a firm announcement on anything from politicians. Can we be optimistic to hope that there's something in that speech that will at least throw things into first gear for the future?
I'd certainly hope so. I mean, we've done a lot of work around the data bubble, which we discussed yesterday, the simplified DG6 campaign, around getting a better working practice with ourselves and the CPS. It would be nice if we could get an announcement on a timeline for that to finally get it through Parliament, so my colleagues can actually get on and do the job. It'd be really nice if we had, an announcement on the Medal for Heroes, the Elizabeth emblem that we'd like for our fallen colleagues, which, if you go back to the video just been played, that'd be something that we can give to the families so they can still feel part of that policing family. Two big things. Again, can we get a definite decision around the direction of the police review body? Can we take away some of the direction and remit from the Treasury so that when we go into negotiations with the government, even though we can only be consulted, we have no rights? Can we get something on that? And can we get a long-term funding formula that policing so desperately needs? The NHS have it. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, can we have that for policing? So we can actually plan for 5 years, at least as a minimum, to know where we're going, set some good things in motion so we know where we're going to be. That would be what I'll be looking for. Remains to be seen.
Everything really is, this is very much a looking forward time for the Federation. We'll hear from the CEO in around about 10 minutes' time, just to hear more on that, what the future looks like and his position on a lot of these issues. The agenda never, it stops for no one in the Federation, right? I mean, there's always something there to look at. We know about pay and conditions. We'll be talking about, we've got a session coming up as well in about an hour on industrial rights. I mean, that is absolutely huge. Yeah, that's a crucial area of policing right now. Yeah, that is massive. And you think, we've had discussions for quite a long time about what does industrial rights look like. So there's been decisions that will be taken by the National Council, the National Boards about what does it actually mean, because as I discussed yesterday, we have industrial rights, but they're known as police regulations. But do we want our members, do they want us to push it further forward? Do we consider using the word strike? Because that's quite contentious for many people. Can we have a police force that can have the ability to strike? These aren't words that we use lightly. Do we have the ability to withhold labour? If you look at certain parts of Europe or across the world, they might have the ability to withhold certain parts of their labour for things that are non-emergency related. So is that something that the members want us to consider? Ultimately, we want that ability to go into an agreement with the government, get a good settlement that is binding on both sides so that my members get the very, very best settlement they possibly can because of the unique restrictions on our private lives. There's many things that we can't do as a police officer in that private life, but yet we're expected to be almost saintly in how we conduct ourselves, and that needs to be reflected on those certain restrictions that we have as a professional police officer. Treasurer's report, of course, that again one of those areas that some people might know, I don't do numbers, I don't do figures, all the rest of it. This is absolutely key to everything, right? It is, and it'll be a very honest conversation about the money we have in, how we spend it. Some of the figures we talk about millions of pounds, and it seems like how can we spend X amount of £1 million on who we employ? Well, like any organisation, we have to employ the best, the brightest people to make sure we can service our 145 members properly. And it's not just our team at Leatherhead at the headquarters. We have a branch network of people that are employed as well by the country. So all the membership money that comes in, it comes into the centre. It then gets reapportioned across the country to our 43 branch boards across the country. They then employ staff to help them in their daily business. So across the country, there's lots of work being done, and the Treasurer's report will pull that together, look forward-facing, see what the money is. It will be discussing the honesty of, here's the situation we're in. We have X amount of pounds, this is how we spend it and what we do going forward with that. So, yeah, it's another open and transparent conversation with the membership about the real state of our finances and what we do with that funding. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have a session towards the end as well, which will be yourself, Tiff, your deputy, will be there as well. Callum is on that session too. That's going to be more kind of general, right? I mean, that's a kind of almost a summing up of the day. And it's an interesting time for policing and a really challenging time for policing. And I know some of these things sound like cliches because every time I've facilitated this, which has been for a few years now, as you know, Steve, these issues don't go away. But there's a real sense that there is a prominence now on some of this. It's not just about pay, that is clearly key, but so many other areas where I think members, serving officers are gazing and looking into their position, their career, their circumstances, their condition, everything around it. We've never really been in an era of reflection in quite this way, it seems. Yeah, it's when you speak to cops on a regular basis, they will tell you that they are behind in the pay. No doubt about it. Everyone's behind in the pay across the country. We're not unique. But again, you couple that with the unique restrictions we have as professional police officers and what we can and what we can't do. But again, it's the overall situation. Police stations have been sold, I think 600-700 in the past 5-6 years. Officers need somewhere good to work from. We need correct IT and equipment so when they're out doing the job, they've got a reliable source of
putting information in, getting information out. We need police stations that they can get to, so when they've arrested somebody, the custody centres are nearby, so they're not travelling for hours, you know, many, many miles to get somewhere, because that eats into the pace clock and it doesn't help victims and witnesses. So there's lots more that they need to be doing to make sure they can have their role looked after properly, but also these are demands that we make of chief constables, police and crime commissioners to look after them properly. I don't think it's ever been as bad now when cops are openly talking about they're not being happy in their job.
Yep.
As we discussed yesterday, some people are more concerned about what will happen if they do a course of action than actually doing it, and that's dangerous, because we need to be doing things properly and professionally to make sure we get the right result. But if they're thinking, well, if I do that I might get a complaint, as long as it's not unlawful, you know, do what you need to do to protect the public. And it's a worrying trend we're seeing now across many areas of policing.
Yeah. And just a word as well, Steve, on that last session where we will have those sort of very general Q&A questions that naturally come through to yourself and Tiff and Callum and the like, but the backbone of that is about policing protests, of course. Again, that's rarely out of the headlines at the moment, and you guys are always, you know, front and centre of that uncomfortable photograph, or someone who's taken something from a strange angle. You know, how many people are meant to turn up? What is a protest now? What is the right to protest? Is that changing? We know there are laws coming in, and some already there that have altered this. And the police, of course, are absolutely central to the entire debate. Yeah, we are, and it feels like at times we get blamed for every failing in society. Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? If we act too quickly, we're seen as oppressive. If something happens, we're then not seen as being as proactive as we should be. So there's lots going in. Again, it's that recognition that policing plays a part in dealing with portions of society, but we're not the experts. We've openly admitted we are not the experts at mental health. That's not our remit. We're good at dealing with the immediacy of the crisis around the damage to someone's mental health, but we're not the experts to take it forward. That's why we want, you know, the right care, right person to be more involved with our partners in the NHS, but the social service as well, so they can put the interventions in place. But then for the CPS, the prisons, the probation service, to play their part. So we're a very small part of a bigger machine, but yet we get blamed for everything, and we need to change that narrative. And that's where the government comes in to start making others responsible, give them the funding so they can do it, and let's work together properly, because ultimately it's the public that benefit. That's what we do this for. You know, it's to make sure they get the very best service and protection as they can. They all pay the taxes, they want the right service. There is a tendency, and this has never really changed us, but you know, politicians announce something to big sort of flair and glitz and all the rest of it. Here's a new policy, and you guys are sitting there thinking, hang on a second, we're at the coalface of that, so it's all very well announcing it, but this fundamentally changes something we do. We already know that the police, you know, mental health issues are absolutely massive in terms of what the police have to deal with. Police cells become prisons for periods of time. That never used to be the case. It certainly is now because of prison shortages. I mean, it's not just about being the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th emergency service. It's almost the 9th, 10th and 11th now. It keeps on, that list keeps on growing. Yeah, it's huge, and again, it's that rely on the police. We are the option of last resort for many. We have to change that completely, and others need to step up and do their part. They might be nervous because they've not done it for a while, but if you're going to do the job, they need to do it properly, and then they can start impressing on their bosses and their ministers in Parliament to say, we actually need to do this more, because, again, the public expect the good service. I think policing gives a fantastic service. You know, our colleagues out there today doing an amazing job. They don't go to work to do a rubbish job. They want there to genuinely help people, but they need time, facilities, and the support to do it properly. And that recognition that when they do a good job, let's pat them on the back and say, well done, thanks very much, because we can easily focus on the negative, and every day is a bad headline. We need to change that narrative properly to get it back to where it should be. Good work. So keynote speech just after lunch from you, and followed by the Home Secretary on that. Yes. Steve, we'll see you later on. Thank you.